Taking hyperbole, poetry is on the way. Taking hyperbole, the poetry kettle is whistling, yay. Taking hyperbole, poetry and life and death and discussion. Sometimes hyperbole, and cake poetry is on the way. And hello, Amy.
Hey!
I love that song still. That is my favorite song.
I thank you. Oh, I get it in my head, I admit.
It doesn't leave. It never leaves. It's a good thing I like it because it never leaves.
You'll be like, "Ah, no." Truth.
So, welcome. We are here. We've already been talking for a while. So, I'm like, what were we last talking about? Oh, yeah, we're talking about new things now. We're on a new track. And that's the other thing. We're celebrating 1 year of Poetry Live.
Yeah.
Yep. Because
a year ago this month,
Amy is responsible for everything you see right now on this screen, every single thing. Because back then it was August, which we're in August again, and I was doing nothing. My poetry open mics had been closed down because, COVID. And I had just settled into this funk of like, well, guess there's no poetry now. I guess we're all alone in the world. And this crazy person that I barely knew from work did you text me or however you got in touch with me?
I emailed you through work email, which I can tell you because we don't work there anymore.
That's right. I remember that. And it was like, hey, do you want to do this Poetry Live thing on Instagram? And my first thought was, wow, poetry, you can do live events on Instagram? Wow. Yeah. And then my second thought was, oh, hell no, that sounds terrifying. And then it was like, you know what? So is an open mic. So let's do this. So
I have this history of like looking at things that might seem terrifying to other people and being just so desperate to do them that it's like I do them and I do them and I do them. And then 3 months later, it's always like 3 months later, I'm like, wow, that could have been terrifying. It wasn't. I just had to do it, So it was one of those spurts.
That's so funny. That's my thing is I have a rule. I just wrote about it last night. I have to say yes, even if it sounds terrifying, because don't let fear stop you from doing amazing things, And this show, look at this. If I had said no, I would not get to be a part of this. We wouldn't have all the other shows that have kind of spun off of this. We wouldn't have the poetry thing last night. Maxwell I. Gold released his book. Can't do a book release party right now, so we did this. We did a show. So
that's so awesome.
None of it would have been possible without you. So this is your day. All hail Amy, the creator of everything that matters to us at this exact moment.
I didn't even put a tiara on. What the hey?
Unprepared. This is the raw Amy, no tiara.
That's right. I have a cat barrette. I don't know if I can get that centered in there, but and some earrings. So, and my hot poet shirt. So there we go.
Yeah.
That's it. Well, I'm glad that has worked out. It has been such a blessing for me to get to have like a poetry little platform just to spur me to keep writing it. Sometimes if I don't have a deadline, or of sorts, I just will put it off or just, well, I'll probably do it, but I won't do it as well as I would, if I'm going to present it. I think that's what poetry is for. So getting it out there and that's like, I think we both have been a huge encouragement to each other. I mean, you've been a huge encouragement to me as well. And so it's great. It's just a great scene.
Yeah, I think the energy works really well between us, which is, why we're still doing this and why it's awesome.
Exactly.
And I mean, that April that we did Poetry Live every single weekend and we were reading everybody else's, that was like the best April I've ever had for poetry.
It was so good. It was a level up. It was just like, I had not participated in National Poetry Month in any sort of meaningful way since I was like 23 or something. And I worked at a public library and I was a children's specialist. And so I would go to the schools and read. And then like during National Poetry Month, I usually would read picture books to kindergarten, first and second grade at a certain school But then that National Poetry Month, I got to go to higher grades and read them. I read them Captain Murderer by Charles Dickens and all this stuff. It was
Oh,
just like, oh my gosh. So it was so cool to just do poetry, but then to do it again all these years later and really make it a big
yeah.
deal.
Yeah, and know that this is the future. We can do
Yes.
this all the time, every
I
April.
know. Yes. I have loved that. I've loved that about the live stuff with the technology that you just
Mm,
get on there, you can be whoever you are and whatever you are, and it's such an open platform that, I mean, hopefully you're bringing your good quality, self and material, but it's not like you have to go through all the, oh, am I good enough? Does this person who's in charge of this say I'm good enough? And because that's
yeah,
something that could slow people down and
yeah,
not get their stuff out, because we really did, when we read other people's stuff, it was so inspiring
yeah.
what
That
they're
was
doing, and we
cool.
had no idea. Yeah, I knew them from different things,
Yeah.
some of them, and I knew them from, like, we shared the love of the same music groups, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden I'm like, they do poetry. That was so cool.
Yeah. And I think
Hmm.
the coolest part about it is the friendships that we have kind of
Yeah.
maintained from that. Um,
Yes.
yeah, because I could list names, but yeah, there's too many names, and yeah, a lot of friendships and a lot of
Yeah.
different little projects have spurred off of that.
Yes.
So, oh, like I
Exactly.
should say, which way am I looking here? Right there is the little
Hmm.
ghost that I bought from Rena recently. Oh, not Rena,
Oh,
dearly
uh,
beloved Gina.
Gina.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, at Dearly Beloved Creations. And that, when I saw it, it was like a little, oh, I should actually read that today and show it. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm adding that to my poetry line. I'm getting rid of this other one.
Nice.
But yeah, I saw that,
Oh,
and it's the little ghost carrying cake. And I was like, oh,
oh, that was so
remembrance
cute.
cake. That's what I do when I have
Yes,
to go to a graveyard and eat treats. So I was
that
like, it
is
has to be
perfect.
there under Poe, which is by Alan Beck. Alan F. Beck did the Poe Mouse. But yeah, later when I'll read, I'll bring those over and show them off.
Cool. Oh,
That
nice.
was my
Good.
long-winded way of remembering that that's back there. Like, oh yeah,
Oh, was that from her,
speaking
like,
of which,
graveyard collection that just came out or
I
what have
don't
you?
know.
Did it
Actually, I
say that?
just saw it on there. I've been like really bad with my social media
Oh, that's
recently.
that's not a terrible thing. I took last
Yeah,
week mostly off, but I still couldn't help it. I still had to put songs, not socks, songs on there because I just can't stop.
and
Socks will be next week. I did knit a Klaus Vormann sock, just one, for the 100th portrait of Klaus. So yeah. Oh, Klaus.
that's
I got a couple
awesome.
of poems about him. Hmm.
Yeah, this weekend I'm actually, after this show, I'm taking the weekend off. You will not see me on social media. I need to get organized because
Oh,
last August I was doing nothing and everything
yeah,
was kind of like, you know, is there a world out there? I don't know.
yeah.
And then I kind of went like, oh, the end of the year is coming and I've done nothing. I have to like quickly publish these things that I've had sitting here for months finished and ready to go. And quickly I have to do this. And oh, there's Poetry Live thing. I should do that because, I
Yeah.
don't know who this crazy Amy is, but seemed like a good thing to do. It
Gotta
terrifies
do
me.
it.
Let's do it. And then
Poetry. Yeah.
yeah, and then everything kind of picked up a lot in September. And then I
Yeah.
was like, okay, yes to everybody and yes to everything because it's going to die next year, next month. And
Yeah.
then it
Who
did,
knows?
and then it didn't, and then it kept ramping up. And then by April, no, May, I guess it was May when the conventions kicked in, it was just like, oh, yes, yes, and yes, and yes, and yes. And holy crap, I have no time. I'm like stressing out. Ah! And so then I was like, just get through convention season because then it's
Mm,
going to be crickets again. It's not going to be nothing happening. And then
yeah.
like August 1st hit, and I went, oh my God, it's August. And the busy time of the year is about to, not convention, but the other Halloween and the holidays
Oh yeah.
is coming in. And I am on steam here. I am like, the fumes of my gas tank. So this
Yeah.
weekend is my weekend. I'm just going to reorganize everything, delete 5,000 emails, answer some of them, and
Some of
just
them.
kind of get back on solid ground a little bit. So,
Yes. Self-care. Spa
yeah,
weekend of sorts. Yeah.
yeah,
I was just
yeah.
thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, Angela needs like a spa weekend, because like you're always like, well, I'm doing this and this. And we did this emergency party last night. And I was like, oh my gosh, I better hurry up and get her my poetry before she, runs away.
Oh, and that's the other thing is because I've said yes to everything. Like, there's not that all projects aren't important, but I have
Right.
really important projects that I want to do, like a golden shovel thing, like our thing,
Yes.
you know.
Yeah.
And but when I've
I've
said yes
neglected
to
it.
everything kind of starts crowding, and it's all the same
Yeah.
zombie crowd, like screaming at the window. So that's the other thing I'm doing this weekend is saying some no's. Like, I'm sorry, but I can't do this. I thought I could. I'm a huge dick, but I
Hey,
gotta.
you're a human being. Just stick with Amy Zoeller. We'll let a little light in. The horror on the back burner. We'll have like bubblegum and Coca-Cola poetry
Yeah,
for you.
yeah. I'll just say, like, well, I'm like an unpopular person, like a nerd. And then, so when people were asking me to do
Yeah.
things, I just said yes to everything. I didn't realize there was actually going to be so many yeses. So,
Oh my gosh.
goodbye.
No.
But yeah. And I have the last month, I've been like wrapping stuff up, like, okay. And not saying yes because I was realizing I am about to
That's
capsize.
good.
So
There's a lot out there, as
true
it turns out.
confessions on Cake
Yes.
and Hyper.
I consider myself a confessional poet. I was like, for years I didn't know what to call myself, and I was like, there's I don't fall. And then I discovered Dan Sexton and this poetry podcast called, I want to say, Poetry Off the Shelf. It was one of the Poetry Foundation podcasts, and I listened to it a lot when I was walking in Texas. And so I listened to a lot of Dan Sexton, which is like, when I read poetry out loud, I'm like kind of trying to partly sound like Anne Sexton because she was just, I mean, she was like Northeastern America. I will never sound like her. She was like Katharine Hepburn, but I loved her, like, hey man, this is just, I wrote this and here's me. But she was considered a confessional poet who in the end, ended it all. But I'm not that kind of confessional poet, but I love that there's a category. I'm just gonna blab about
Yeah,
myself. Thank you. Maybe some cute boys who are rock musicians, stuff like that.
yeah,
So I love some Anne Sexton though.
that's
Mm-mm-mm.
awesome.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, good coffee, gotta say.
I know this was my third cup of the morning because I slept in
I know,
today.
but like I told you, so Angela is a little bit shell shocked from sleeping in and then waking up and being like, oh my gosh, it's almost time to do poetry. But I was telling her yesterday, my cat woke me up at a ridiculous hour. And I was like, or maybe I just woke up because I'd had like, cake or something, because I did make cake just to photograph, just to publicize this event. And so we've been enjoying it too much. But, so like I woke up and it was like 5 o'clock and I'm like, I could get up and I could go down and I could organize the basement studio where I am right now. And I didn't. I rolled over and I went back to sleep, and I had the most like romantic dream in the world. And I was like, I'm gonna write it because I've been writing a collection of dreams as poems. And I was like, this is the one this was the dream I was waiting for and thought would never come. And I was like, gonna write it. I wrote it in my journal. I wrote it as a poem. And then I had been saying for 2 or 3 days, I need to get my ass down there and write some of my poems in my art room by myself. Everything's been thrown off because scout camp ended early because of COVID. And so like I thought I was going to have 4 more days of just poetry camp by myself, but like the gents were here and my husband was still off work and they were just a little heavy on my hands. So I was hanging out with them and whatever. And so I just wasn't getting poetry done. And that dream and writing the poem about it made me sit my butt down and write down like 4 other poems, or write 4 other poems. And I was like, I need to write one about this. I need to write one about this. I need to.
Oh,
And then
awesome.
so sometimes sleeping in can be
It's good.
That's my point. It really worked for me yesterday. Wow.
Yeah. Well, sleeping in if you don't have something planned that you're supposed to send somebody links to,
which I did not. Right.
Yeah, that was me this morning. I woke up at 7 actually, and then the Chihuahua loves to sleep with us, and he was so soft and cuddly, and I was like,
Oh,
I'm just gonna lay here for just a minute and cuddle you.
Mm-hmm.
So then I woke up
Man,
like 10.
that's like self-care. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like an hour before, and I was like, oh, I don't have a shower, and I haven't had coffee yet. Where is my email? How do you put an email if you don't have coffee?
What is email? Yeah, what? Yes, I get it. I get it. I do.
But here we are,
Yeah.
third cup. I
We
am
made it.
awake.
Yeah.
Stretching because I'm not quite awake, but yeah, now I'm awake.
Now you're there. Yeah. All of the blood is flowing. And we're here. We made it. We're in front of the screen. So
Yep.
yeah.
Mm.
Mm-mm-mm.
So a toast to you
Yes.
and your brilliant
A
idea
toast.
of having a poetry
I
Instagram
thank you.
last year at this time.
Oh, I
And I
do
was
thank you
going
for
to make
joining.
like a blooper reel, but I'll do that next month for us to play because I did
Yeah.
not. It's been
I
that
love
week.
it. I'm encouraging people, and if you're out there, anyone, because here we are going on about our live poetry. I'm encouraging people on Instagram, and my Instagram is at Hypness and Outrage with underscores between hypness and under hypness underscore and underscore outrage. And so that is where we had on our live poetry from August of last year to we'll do it this August again on the third Sunday of the month. It's gotten to where it's the third Sunday of the month at about 2 o'clock Central. And my encouragement is, hey guys, this is the best possible time if you're just joining us, or if you just joined us a few months ago, to go and binge earlier episodes. So what I need to do is get screenshots of what that, because I have a ton of stuff on my feed. Some people curate their Instagram accounts so beautifully so that they're like, I'm sorry, I love that, but all I'm posting is my artwork, like my paintings of blah blah blah, or all I'm posting is the music I do. Well, I put my music, I put my visual art, I put our poetry, and so it's all on there. I'm gonna do screenshots of like how we look on the Instagram live where we're stacked, I'm there and you're underneath and all that, and be like, this is what you're looking for, like on an Instagram story,
Yeah.
so people can like scroll through and binge, because you guys, you want to. You just don't want to miss that. We shared poetry from ourselves initially. Later, we started sharing from other people. Sometimes we would try to read ones from poets that influenced us,
Oh,
and there's still
yeah.
a
We
good
did
draft.
a graveyard reading, a special
Oh
graveyard reading
yeah,
with a dead
last
poet.
October.
So,
Oh my, that was
yep.
so. Oh yeah, that. Did we ever post that? I don't know if I ever posted that. I might have
Did
posted
we
photographs.
not post that?
I think we did not, but we posted the one from last October where we did our readings socially distanced in the graveyard, and you had tech issues over by Madame
Oh,
Vale's grave,
yeah. Yep.
Sophia
And I
Vale.
read a poem about her,
Yes. And I wrote a
equating
song
to
about
her.
her,
Yeah.
but not that I hadn't written it yet. I wrote it inspired by that whole thing. I wrote it and performed it on Halloween and posted it to Instagram. So, oh my gosh, you
Yeah.
guys, get in there.
That was cool. I need to go find that video. Like we need to post that
Mm-hmm.
because you're right. I think we did forget.
Yes. We can both post it. You can send it to me and I'll post it on mine, and you can post it on yours. And because, yeah, that was fun. We have a local poet who has on his gravestone poet. His name
Yep.
is Leroy Smith. It says Leroy Smith. I think he was born in something like 1901 and died in the 80s or 89 or something on Halloween, which is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
That's a whole story.
He was born on a special day too, I thought. Like I can't remember
It seems
now.
like. Yeah, I can't either. But we could only find one book of poetry by him called The Fourth King. And we both bought it and we both read from it at his grave. And that was really cool. It was a really cool time. I can't remember even when we did that. I'm going to tell the story again because the coolest part was we were in the vast Woodlawn Cemetery on Mullen Road, Independence, Missouri. And we were like, actually, you know what? Come to think of it, we don't know where this is. And I take walks there in the morning sometimes. Well, when school was in and I'd drop my kid off at school, I'd walk there afterwards just for exercise and relaxation and being in a cemetery. And so I was casually looking out for his grave, didn't know what I was looking for, never could find it. And then the day that we're there to do it, we're wandering around, chatting, like gabbing like we always do when we lose our train of thought. Angela, for no reason, veers off the path and walks right to the guy's grave. She's like, wait a minute. It was like a psychic flash. It was kind of exciting.
I was embarrassed because I almost tripped you, and I was like, "Oh, how rude! I'm sorry. I don't even know what I'm." Oh,
and there he was. Yeah, don't worry about that because I kind of like have this husband who what he does is he's a real if anyone thinks I'm energetic and hyperactive and frantic, meet my husband, okay? Because he will walk like 12 feet in front of me just because he's in that much of a hurry, and we're not that. he's 5'6", I'm 5'3". We're not that far apart in height. It's not like he's got these long legs. He's just frantic. And he's also in his mind, so he's not thinking about it at all. He's not thinking, well, I should be walking next to Amy as if I like her. He's like, which I've scolded him about many times. I'm like, people are gonna think you don't like me. He's like, I'm sorry, I had no idea that you were 20 feet behind me in the next county or whatever, and so that like what you did on the cemetery path, I didn't even notice. I was like, hey, Angela wants to walk next to me. That's nice.
That's hilarious, because that's what we do. Ryan has really long legs. I'm 5 feet tall. He's pretty much 6 or maybe 6'1" or something.
Yeah.
So when we walk, we naturally have this like distance that happens. Yeah. So his joke is, because I do have that Okinawan Asian background. Right. He says, you don't have to be like one of those little Asian women that have to walk behind their man. You can come up here. And then I'm always like, yeah, well, you can slow down because I'm physically limited. I mean, I'm as fast as I can. I'm having a heart attack back there.
Can you imagine? I remember once being in a band competition in high school, and I first of all had on ridiculous girl shoes. They weren't heels, but they were girl shoes, which aren't as easy to scurry around in. And I was walking with these 2 tall high school guys because we were in a trio together, and a saxophone trio, and we're going to Wendy's or something to get lunch, and it's like they're striding ahead of me, and like every so often I would do this dumb girl shoe scurry to catch up with them, and they're like, hey, are you falling behind back there? It's just like, people don't think about it. They're used to being as tall as they are, and hello, along comes some short person who needs consideration.
Yeah, hello, but we, short people can sleep in the back of a Honda, any couch is bed, so
that's true.
It equals out. Never bump our heads. If we do, we're shocked. It's like,
what
just happened? The sky is falling.
I was under a table. That must have been why it happened, because it does not happen.
So funny.
Get yelled at in the stores for climbing the shelves. I have gotten yelled at for that in a world market.
Too. Yeah, and now the stores are so sparse, you can't wait for a tall person to come by. They may never come by, because that's usually what I do. I'll just stand there and I kind of look down the aisle and I see a tall person come up. I go, and then they're like, oh, do you need help? And they come over and get my stuff.
I just ask them, can you reach that for me? Like some little old lady asked my 5'6" husband that once at a drugstore, and he walked tall for like, a week and a half because somebody asked him to reach something up high.
That's
so I think
awesome.
It makes them feel good. Yeah, I'll ask. No problem. I'm making their day.
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of like a challenge. Like, will this be a kind-hearted person? Kind of like the leprechaun in the woods. Will you be a kind person or not? If you are a kind person, you'll get nothing from me, but karma.
Right? It's just, kindness is just a good idea. It just makes other people better, if you do it.
I like making other people better by getting the stuff off the top shelf.
Yeah, exactly. They could do that.
Okay. All right. I was just answering an email. I have a viewer submitted poem that I'll read in a little bit from, let me look at my text again. So I had multiple things going on. From Chelsea Williams, who, speaking of that graveyard, I wound up marrying her and her wife, her partner. I'll say partner. In that same graveyard. And that is actually why I can say I am an ordained minister right now.
Look at
I've never done anything with it since, except I did hang it on my wall because I was super proud.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I know. I've always, I don't know. I shouldn't say the power, but, it's kind of like I have
power and responsibility.
Powerful paper. So, anybody wants to get married in the graveyard, call me.
And you could just enter this studio at any time and just be like, look, it's about time to preach a little bit of a sermon, 10 minutes, and then see you next week or whatever.
Yeah, that's a dangerous thought lately, because there's been a couple of sermons in my mind that I've been like, what are you all doing? Let's talk about this.
Yeah. Communication. Yeah. I hear it. I hear you.
So I'm super happy. Everything the way it happened. If nothing else comes out of the pandemic except for us connecting up and doing this kind of thing together, I'm happy. I'm not going to say it's all worthwhile, but that's something really good that came out of it.
This was a discussion that took place at a table. My in-laws had a 50th anniversary party in California, Missouri, and we were there. And we were just sitting at a table with people I didn't know. They were people my husband knew, but older people like his parents' friends. And so we were talking, and I think maybe my nieces and my nieces were there and all this. And it's like, they're like, nothing good. I think my niece said that. My niece who's in her early 20s, she's like, nothing good has come from this. And I was like, oh, I got to tell you, I've got this poetry show on Instagram. And also, I was really afraid to like perform songs that I could play or had written. And I was just like, just put it on Instagram. And then I can walk away and never check my Instagram again if I'm that scared, and stuff. And it's just been this thing. I figured if I do it and put it out there, like poetry, like music, it's like, well, then people think, whether I believe it or not, people are like, oh, she's a poet. Oh, she's a musician. People have called me a musician. I'm like, you know how many chords I'm playing? Sometimes 5, but usually 3. And so what? It's like, it's still a song. Cake and Hyperbull, cake and
Hyperbull, tree is coming down.
I think I just made up some chords for that one. Yeah. Well, the music theory people will be like, that's an F sharp, diminished minor. And I'll be like, yeah, I just put some keys together. It sounded good.
Well, speaking of poetry, do you have some poetry?
I think I do.
But wait, am I asking Amy Zoellers if she has poetry? Like that is
here's the story. Yeah. Last week was poetry camp, self-imposed, because the kids, I have one son and one husband, and they both went to scout camp for 4 of the 8 days or whatever it was, 5 of the 10 days. I don't know how many. Anyway, they got it halfway done, and I got some poetry written. All I did was write poetry. I'm going to read one that I copied out of my journal and then sort of stopped halfway from copying it. I don't know why. That's the mystery of artists is, started doing it. But it's fun. It's I don't even have a title for it. But I started a notebook called Transfusion Poetica, which is just where I put poems about. It's just I just put poems in there that I write that are like about inspiration. I'm really preoccupied, as you might know from other sessions lately, with like inspiration and where it comes from and where people used to think it came from and where I get it from, and So I just wrote this one about when I was reading M Train by Patti Smith, and then I went to Culver's. Here's the poem. I read Patti Smith dripping, drenching phrases as I wait in the drive-through line. I want such phrases. I seek them. Fetishes intrude. I won't name them. I can't breathe through my boogers. I look up the German word for booger. My vast and clunky German dictionary contains boob job and booby hatch, but not booger. Booby trapped to booing to books. What gives? It gives no boogers. Es gibt keine boogers. Germans do not possess boogers, nor do they care to discuss the boogers of others, I pieced together from Collins, who is a nitwit. The German word for booger is out there, and I will find it. Snot, der Rotz, is present, which I already knew existed as experienced in the film Nil. I sat in my home in a hot summer 35 years later, but still the cold air from that is bizarre. I feel like I stopped in the middle and like was writing 2 different poems. Anyway, that was my booger, finding the word booger journey. And I did find it, and I can't remember what it is, but I wrote it down in my other journal, which is upstairs. And heck, if I'm going to get up and run after it. But it occurred to me later, after I finished writing the poem, days later, I was like, oh, my Collins German dictionary that I got at Half Price Books for $5 because I had a coupon and it was $10 and blah, blah, blah. Now in color, L-O-U-R, I'm like, oh crap, it's probably under bogey. Nope. So I'm glad I didn't overlook that I overlooked it while writing the poem, but confirmed it wasn't even under bogey. I was so annoyed because I had to look it up on the internet. I was like, I'm going to find this in my gigantic German dictionary. It had snot, but not booger.
Oh, wow. But
a journey.
Is it kind of like one of those language crossovers where they consider it the same thing? Or, there's a word for this in this language, but not in English?
I was trying to go both directions. I was looking in English under booger. I was like, I'll look snot, and then I'll look up the German word for snot and see if it's
Yeah.
because they are always that like German language does so many putting words together in
Mhm.
compound words. Like there's like our big fun thing in high school was when we learned the word birthday gift, which is Geburtstagsgeschenk. It's this enormous, and then summer Schlussverkauf means like summer clearance sale, but they just make it one word. And like Geschwindigkeitsbegrenzung is speed limit. You know, it's just like it's just such a fun language, but it didn't work. There was nothing under Holtz that made booger, you know. And I looked up crust, I looked up crud. I was like, I'm trying to get into the heads of these Germans, and so there's this word for it. It's there. All you have to do is friggin' unreliable old Google Translate, but at least it came up with a word for booger. And I was annoyed because I was like, my big analog book is going to come through because it's so big. Because when I do thesaurus sometimes online, I'll be like, just Google blah, blah, blah synonym. I'll get like 4 words. And so then I've
Yeah.
got like a Roget's thesaurus that gives me a lot more sometimes. So it's really kind of, you just have to go everywhere, you know, if you're
Yeah.
really into the project. So, because you never know which one's going to come through.
Not to use a terrible pun, but you just got to keep digging.
Yes, digging for gold. Sleuthed it. Yeah, exactly. Yes, perfect.
We actually have a question from chat to say, is your coffee cup shaped like a megaphone? Is your coffee cup shaped like yours?
Okay, I'm so glad you asked about my coffee cup. Blessed. Okay, this is a like, it's called, when I ordered it from Etsy way back when I lived in Texas, it's called a Federalist Stein. It's kind of like a Stein. Okay. And then it's got like these kind of sculpted people on it, what have you. I just want to point out that this is the cup that Janine Palmy Vega is using on Women of the Beat Generation. It's why I bought the set of cups from Etsy in my big poetry sort of devotion phase back in Texas when life was somewhat a giant question mark, somewhat empty. I've referred to it before. It was a weird time that we couldn't figure out, but here she is with the Federalist Stein. I'm trying to make sure I got her.
That is awesome.
It's from Women of the Beat Generation, one of my great big influences that I got when I was in as a nanny in New York, and I discovered that book somehow. I don't know how, and loved reading the beat. I mean, because I've read a lot of beat poets, but you know, you don't hear as much about, at least back in the 90s, you didn't hear as much about the women beat poets. And so when I discovered that book, I was like, yeah, and I read a ton of it, and I like took it to a haircut place to get the bangs of Joan Haverty Kerouac. I'm like, make my, and I was in like in upstate New York. I'm like, these bangs, that's what I want. They're like, okay, and they did it. And
gonna look like a V-neck poet, but all right.
Yes, thank you. I will pay you your crazy prices to cut my, and then I just learned how to do it myself. But I watched what she did, and I did it. She just basically combed it, like swept it, and then cut on that line, which is so obvious. But I was like in my 20s, I didn't know. But I later became obsessed in Texas with Janine Palmy Vega because she was like 16 or something when she joined the coffee house scene and would hang out with these beat poets and beat writers. And then she married a painter, I think a Spanish painter named Fernando something. And Vega, probably, that was her last name, Janine Palmy Vega. And he died like just a few years later. I forget what his illness was, but he died. And so she just went on being this poet. And I ordered a book from her called Songs to Fernando. This is great. I thought this is the kind of thing I think is a great story. So everybody just hang in there. I was in Texas. I found a used copy of Songs to Fernando from some coffee house that sold books, or maybe it was a bookstore called the Sell Coffee House. I don't know. I ordered it and I got the wrong book. I got a book that was it was a play written in the 1890s, and I don't remember what it was called. I should look this up. And I was like, oh, I contacted them. I'm like, I got the wrong book. I wanted this book and I got that one. They're like, okay, just return it. Like, in 24, I told myself I have 24 hours with this play and I'm going to read it and it's going to change my life in some way. And so I'm like scrambling like I had anything going on in Texas, which is why I wrote so much poetry. And I'm reading this play. And there were actually I made a list. I was journal mining over my poetry week camp and I saw that I had made a list. These were the cool things. And one thing I remember is there was a really spiteful woman in this play who sort of was a mother figure to this orphaned girl who was a young lady at this point. And the young lady ended up dying some way, and the woman who was jealous of her fertility, which I had one child and then I was jealous of everybody's fertility for like 7 years because I couldn't have more. But jumped on her coffin. I mean, it was just like that play gave when I was still working through my fertility jealousy. I'm like, oh.
Wow. What do you mean jumped on her coffin? Like actually physically jumped on it?
Threw herself on it like in Twin Peaks when Leland Palmer, they're burying Laura Palmer and he like throws himself on it. It's like, oh, lying down.
Oh, wow.
Face down.
Yeah.
And so she did that number and I was like, oh, she is for me the heroine of the play, even though she was, she did something dastardly, and that just happens sometimes, the anti-hero, but not even the anti-hero. She was a bad chick, but I understood her motivations.
Yeah, which is, I think the best part of writing, when you can see the bad guy and empathize or hate the good guy and empathize, that kind of thing, because none of us are all good, all bad, except for possibly Amy, because she started all of this.
I'm all bad. Well, now you know. I don't know who told.
Yeah, no, I was saying all good, but if you want to go the other way.
What I just said.
Forget. Can we clip that out of this? We don't have to. We're live.
That's right. Oh, that's right. And we'll edit it later. Goodbye. Yeah, exactly.
This never happened. This conversation never happened.
Like I said, I'm a confessional poet, so there's some angry crap in there sometimes.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
Now I get it. Yeah, this week. Not this week. I guess like this month, really. Because I'm doing Tortured Willows with 3 other poets. And that is specifically about our Asian heritage. And wow, brain blown. I did not know all this. But Okinawa, and I'm not going to be political, say this in a nice way. Okinawa is illegally annexed by Japan, and they are trying to not be their own culture again. And there's been some cultural witch hunting and things like that in the past. So, but that's all in the past, There's a lot of bad crap that's happened in the past for all races and genders and, so we're not going, I don't want to go into that. But that is one reason why, like, I found out that I was actually Okinawan, not Japanese, when I was like 30 something. And I thought that was like my family, like, what the hell? There's a big difference. It's actually 2 races. It's like saying Chinese is Japanese. No, they're not. They're, an Asian culture, but, completely different.
Yeah.
And so when I found out that, I thought that was my family. Found out that's actually a thing because there was such an anger and hatred towards that culture, which is I'm going to mispronounce this, Yukuyan or Luchu. It's actually not even Okinawan. That's the Japanese name for it. So, but the Luchuians wouldn't tell their children that they were Okinawan. They would just say Japanese because it was you were less than, and so that was the goal, is to erase that culture and become the better culture of Japanese. So anyways, that's the whole backstory, which I didn't know all of this. And I stumbled in my research to find Okinawan monsters and stuff that I remember as a child. I stumbled into this wide field of like, holy crap. And oh my goodness. And so that's been like a freezing thing. Like I haven't actually written but 2 poems out of it because it's just been like reading and reading and reading and oh my gosh and oh my gosh and wow, oh wow, mind blown, But now I'm like, that's the other thing I have to do this weekend is like, okay, it's all there. Now it has to come out. So that's the poetry. power of poetry, because I would have probably never been looking into all that other than the light way of like, oh yeah, I'm 25% Okinawan. Actually, I'm
Yeah.
24% Okinawan and 1% Mongolian for some reason.
That's pretty badass. That's awesome.
That 1%.
That's right. Everybody look out. No, I love it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I just lost my train of thought there. Because see, now I'm
But no,
going off into
totally.
and Kiss of the Kami and the da 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 da, and there's so much information. Oh yeah, and then Okinawa just got its first Olympic gold this
Oh,
weekend
all right.
ever, because kata, which was the karate, was started on Okinawa specifically as an Okinawan thing. So I was kind of like,
Exactly. I was
right
telling
as
my
I'm looking
husband,
at.
I was like, Angela's Okinawan, and it's not the same thing as Japanese. And he's like Mr. Miyagi. So, we can't help it. We cannot
Yeah.
separate from the Karate Kid, because God help us, we were like
Yeah.
9 or 10 when that movie came out and saw it like
Oh,
5
yeah.
times. People will mention certain movies, and I think like maybe I don't remember. I don't know when Goonies came out, but there was some movie that everyone has seen from our era, but I haven't seen it. And I'm like, wait a minute, was that 1984? Because I saw Karate Kid like 5 times and Ghostbusters like 5 times. I didn't have time for anything else.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's funny
so
about
good.
Mr. Miyagi, because I think at that time when I watched that movie so many times, I did not realize Okinawan and Japanese, and I didn't even know any of that. So
the connection
that's very cool.
Yeah, it's cool.
And here at 53, the connection is made.
It is, you guys.
I think I'm 52.
52, yeah. I know I'm gonna be 47
I
next
don't know.
month. So.
Yeah, I'm
It's
actually turning an age of 52 or 53. I have to look it up in November.
Nice. I tell ya, it is. Children, it doesn't stop when you graduate from high school or college. There's so much to discover.
Oh, I know. I was just reading a thing about how they used to think personalities were like solidified, congealed.
Yeah.
I like to use the word congealed at 30, and now they know, nope, and you can actually choose to change your personality. So, like,
yes,
I used to be a terrified person of everything, like spiders, dark, water. Still don't like water.
I still don't like spiders.
Yeah.
Well, they're okay. They're all right. They don't freak me out as much as other things.
Just in their own spot.
Yeah, exactly. If they can promise to, But yeah, you don't have to. And I agree with that. That's like if I had known and believed that your personality was supposed to have solidified by the age of 30. I was in my mid-30s when I was just like, becoming this really bitter hag about, not having more children. My mother was losing her mind and forgetting our names and stuff. And all of this stuff made me really, really like sad every day. And I think that I was very difficult to live with for like my husband and probably my kid. I really tried to like not, my kid was like 3 or 4. I was trying to bake with him a lot, basically was the answer. But I had to make this conscious decision. I'm like, visualize yourself as an old woman, and how do you want to be? You don't want to be the person who is just embittered by life and hates everything and says hateful things. You want to make it nice for people and you want to make it joyful. And so I basically, it took work, but I tried to turn around and try to be a lot more positive. And so thank God that is possible. It's possible to be like, I'm not a professional musician in a place that doesn't consider you an actual musician if you don't have a record contract, or if you're not in a symphony orchestra, but I'm gonna do music anyway, because sort of like sometimes songs just come out of me and I don't know what to do about that. Keep it a secret. That'd be dumb.
You are a musician.
Professional. That's right. And so, on whatever, if people don't think so because they went to Juilliard and stuff, that's okay. I doubt it. There's folk music, there's music of the people, and that gets lost sometimes in this polished, professional edited life of ours. And that's kind of what I am like against on my Instagram. I'm not like, oh, professionals suck. There are many professional musicians that I find so inspiring, but I don't want people to be afraid like I was, Don't be afraid. Do that anyway. I would do it. I started learning guitar when I was having my infertility and my mom's problem, but I was also very quiet about it. I guess.
Yeah.
One time I played at a gathering, but I just felt like, I don't know, sometimes when you feel like you're so messed up in this way or that way, you just feel like you got nothing to give. And so, but it
Yeah.
just kept coming. You know how poetry does and songwriting goes. Ideas would just keep coming and I would just have to write them down and whether anybody saw them or not. And that's why I have a lot to like comb through now because I wrote it all down. I think some of it got lost in a basement flood, but I don't care.
Yeah, because
So
there's
good.
more coming right behind it.
Hmm. That does not destroy me. I did a post a couple of, well, right before Poetry Week about going to do poetry camp and you're not going to really hear as much from me. And somewhere there's I turned it into a poem. I'm going to read it real quick. You haven't read one yet, but if I can find my
Yeah.
Transfusion
Yeah, you read.
Poetica, I copied it into Transfusion Poetica because it was a fun memory to me. But I know that I lost the poem that this refers to. I lost it in a basement flood. And it's like, that's all right. No big whoop,
Means,
but I
yeah, it
remember the
means it's
memory.
extra ephemeral or whatever
Yeah,
that word is.
exactly. And ephemera
Ephemeral.
is life, you know? There are a lot of things that go on that we cannot record and that we cannot keep forever. In a dump somewhere is a shameless rhyme about a beautiful art major tripping LSD on the balcony of his dormitory. I would quote from it here, but that was 28 years ago. My roommate never could convince me to slip it under his door. There, that must sustain you until we meet again. So that was the memory. Somewhere there was a poem, and it rhymed shamelessly. I was such a rhymer in college because I loved William Wordsworth
Mhm.
and Lord Byron, and that was just the style of the time. And so I was just copying it like you do when you're starting to write poetry, and not copying them, but their style
Right,
and their
right. Yeah.
meter and rhyme scheme. And to me, it just was, oh, it was like music to have rhyming poetry. And people
Yeah.
disdained it, not my own. Some I had real quick, I had the best poetry teacher in college. I think I've mentioned her because she was just this wonderful gypsy hippie looking woman with this beautiful sort of red painted hair. And she'd be like, if you turn in all of the assigned poetry, you will get an A because who am I to judge your work? And I'm like, that gave me so
Oh,
that
I
gave me
love
so
that.
much freedom. So much freedom because I always was wondering in college or high school or whatever, which is a path that you diverted from, and I love that because for me I
Yeah.
was always afraid of getting it wrong, and that she said
Mhm.
that I was like, okay, okay then, and I still refer to that. Who am I to judge? You know,
That's
and I know there are a
awesome.
lot of poets out there that would say, I'm an academic poet and you should follow form. And if you're not going to follow form, you should be doing the opposite of whatever you're doing, Amy Zoellers, you know, and stuff like that, just
Yeah.
because, especially in the 90s. But not that I follow academia, so I don't know how they are now. I just think it's a competitive
Yeah.
world and a lot of uncertainty for people. So they lash out. That's how I see it. So except
Yeah.
for that beautiful
Well, that's the
poetry
thing.
teacher.
When does innovation come in? If all the rules are set for art and this is the category of this kind of art and the category of that kind of art, then where does the innovation come in? And when
Yeah,
do we get
the
the people who did
progress.
things different, the Mozarts or the,
Mhm. Yeah,
just list of names here of people who broke the
exactly.
mold. So
Yeah,
I am 100%. It's funny too, because I have the same, who am I to judge? Even if I
right.
don't like this poem, that does not mean it's a bad poem. It
Yeah,
means it's not my preference of a poem. And it
it's
could
not your
actually be
scene.
tomorrow because,
Right.
as we go day to day, some things I don't like yesterday. And then I
Yeah.
read it a week later and I'm like, oh my gosh, that happened to me a couple weeks ago. And I can't remember what it was that I'd read, but I remember reading it the first time, kind of like, eh,
Yes.
I mean, it's a
Yeah.
poem. I'm not judging, but it's not grabbing me. And then I
Right.
read it like a week later, or a month later, or something, and it was just like, oh, have I ever read this before? It seems familiar, but there's so much meaning I'm unpacking here, but it was me.
Yes. Because of whatever's going
So,
on or
mhm,
whatever you're feeling at that exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yep. Well, do you have
Nope.
one to read?
I do, I do.
All
And
right.
don't let me forget that we have a video from one of our viewers, I guess, Pete, who is also a
Yes.
space and time contributor. And I have a poem from Chelsea Hunter. I'm looking at I have too many things coming in right now. Chelsea Williams. Chelsea Williams. I have a poem from her and her copy of Retro Horror, which has tarantulas in it, just came in. So just
Retro
reading off
horror.
extemporaneous information.
I'm writing down
I
that
want to
title.
read. Okay. I have a story called Tarantulas in that one. about what if
Ooh.
piranhas and tarantulas came together and had babies? Tarantulas. So,
You know what I like. I am there. I've got the title down. Okay, retro horror. Good.
all right, I want to go grab the cake ghost though, real quick. The dearly
Yes.
beloved. Yeah. So I'll be right back.
While you're doing that, I will show people some of my little poetry books I have beside me. I have lunch poems from Frank O'Hara. Thank you, Frank O'Hara, for everything that you did, you beautiful, beautiful man. Oh, are you back? Okay.
I am. Yeah, I was just
Continue.
going over
All
there.
right.
I just wanted to show this off, and this is one of the great things about collaboration. It's like not focusing. There we go. This is from Dearly Beloved Creations, which I can link it, but I think it's dearlybelovedcreations.com. Also on Instagram at as Dearly Beloved. I met her through you because of these poetry live events. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, I
She
saw this
contributed.
ghost. Yeah. I saw this ghost a couple of weeks ago. Time is blurring right now for me because I am staying at home and like, what is reality? Just this room. This is silver room that I
We're
dwell
just a
in.
couple of poets. What do people want? We're not
Exactly.
oracles.
What is
Calendars.
reality? That doesn't even
Accountants.
matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, rules.
Numbers.
But yeah, and those math.
Eh.
But I saw this, and it reminded me of the habit that I have of if I feel depressed, I go eat, chocolate usually or cake. I've eaten cake now, in a graveyard because it makes me realize whatever I feel, I am not there. I am not in the grave,
Right.
so I can turn it around. And apparently, I have been told that is extremely morbid, but that's what I do. And I'm a very happy person, so don't knock eating cake in a graveyard.
Okay, I'm going to tell you real quick that my college roommate, God bless her, I wish we were still in touch. I need to get in touch with her. She would do I was like the one who would be like, hey, let's go do this. And she'd be like, yes. Because we are both Christians, and and we knew about each other. We attended Bible studies together. Sometimes we would be like, let's go to the graveyard and pray for Max Casella. I was in love with Max Casella from Doogie Howser MD /Newsies /Ed Wood and all the stuff he was in. And I just wanted to pray for him because I don't know why. The Lord told me to.
Why
I don't
not?
know. We'd go to Baskin Robbins and get ice cream to eat in the Columbia, Missouri graveyard and pray for movie stars and rock stars that we were in love with
that's
and stuff
awesome.
like that. So what a friend. Baskin Robbins in the graveyard. It's not, I don't find it morbid. I find it, if you think about the Victorian tradition of graveyards as parks, because they could visit their dead, they could be in the outdoors, like that. You know, I mean, the graveyards that we like to go to have those bigger standing up stones, and it's a graveyard, but we like that. We kind of like that vibe, and the history.
Yeah.
And
why not remember people that you've loved and just remember people,
or people from the town,
like Leroy Smith.
Yes.
Why not remember Leroy?
I love that about Woodlawn Cemetery. There's Leroy Smith, our poet. There's Sophia Vale of the Vale Mansion, who killed herself because she had chosen to have, nude artwork on the ceiling of her bedroom. And I guess the servants blabbed and her reputation was ruined because it was Victoriana.
Small town. Yeah. The evils of small minds. And I'm not going to say small towns, but the evil of small minds.
It was
sometimes dwell in small towns.
Yeah, exactly. Just small-mindedness was kind of the thing at the time, or certain taboos. And she was, in my opinion, appreciating the human form. And that's so much history that is this is our town. This is the town that I lived in since I was 2 and then went away for a while, 16 years, and came back. But I love that connection. The town that you live in or move to, you're like, this is my town now, and these were the people who have walked these roads before and whatever.
Yeah.
So not morbid.
I love that. Yeah. I love that about this area because we moved here. We're not from here. But we've never wanted to buy a house or live anywhere permanently because we never really found a place that we felt was ours until we came to Independence. And then, just found this place and we were like, let's buy a house. Words we never thought we'd say. But super happy. Yeah.
Good stuff. I mean, it's problems like anywhere, but it's our town.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And the problems here are pretty interesting.
They are interesting, actually.
Yeah.
We won't go on.
Yeah, I was like, I'm
Move
going to
on.
withhold all gossip right now, but later.
Yeah. But I think I probably know kind of what you're talking about. So interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right.
I will read
Oh, I love it.
Remembrance Cake. Whoops. So
Yes,
hard
read
to
one.
do the camera thing. There should be a class in how to point in a camera.
Yeah, it is. It's hard not to. It's cover. I can't see if it's centering
Yeah.
because I'm behind it. Okay.
All right.
Remembrance
So
cake.
I had already written this poem, but when I saw this little ghostie, I had to have her to put on my wall to remind me no matter how dark it gets, there's always a celebration. And I will say, probably even after you are in the grave, judging by this.
Mm-hmm.
So, Remembrance Cake. Oh, and that's funny. I didn't realize, I forgot this was a little bit of a COVID poem, too. I can't remember when I wrote it, but it was the day we hit 250,000. So that's the reference of 250,000 was how many people had, I think, had COVID that day, which is a lot.
Wow.
So, Remembrance Cake. Today I eat cake for all those who are now gone. Remembrance cake. I sit by a grave, a random stranger, a name still unfamiliar, like all of the names. 250,000 gone as of today. How many more names? Behind them they leave a void, potential now lost, thoughts unrealized, poems never to be read, embryonic dreams. With this morning meal, I feel my own gratitude and that I am still here. Expiration dates unknown. I don't want to toss this life untasted, dried up and gone stale. Leave nothing on the table. Consume every crumb. Eat cake by a grave for those who are now gone. Remembrance cake. And
Love it.
this, I'm actually not on the camera anymore. And this is my remembrance of, it's not of remembrance cake, but yes, it reminds me.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. A nice physical representation
Yeah.
of a poem that goes into the atmosphere, when
Yeah.
you read it out loud.
Hanging Back There by Edgar Allan Poe, portrayed as a mouse, which is the painting above it.
Nice. I like it.
So, how about you? Do you have another poem?
I might. This is like I was telling you. This is like the week that we do a lot of these poetry readings. We have for a year, and I was like, oh wow, the last thing I didn't do was figure out what I was going to read, so I just grabbed some papers. And
That was me this morning.
Oh yeah. Okay, this is a partial one, I think, and I'm gonna put my glasses on if I can find them because I think that it's in a small font. There are certain fonts, I'm sure know this. There are fonts that you're like, come on, 12 point, and it still looks like 9 point. You're like, what the hey? It's called Communicate. I don't know how this is going to read out loud. I'm kind of interested to know. Let's find out, okay, because it's got things going on. Communicate. The spirits said this would happen. Of course there was a water stain on the motel ceiling. There will be a water stain on the motel ceiling. What motel ceiling? From a terrible man who drowned 3 wives in total, one of them in the bathtub directly upstairs, in this terrible manner in which he'd grab up the ankles. Shut up, spirits. You're going on, and I've lost interest. Now, tell me about that babe from the coffee joint. No, you hurt my feelings. Oh, cripes. Oswell. Sylvia, is that you? I didn't realize you'd kick the bucket. You shouldn't communicate with the dead, you twit. So said Grammy on a daily basis. So she said at the kettle stovetop. So she said at the umbrella-style clothesline daily. Is that you, Grammy, Heather? I think there's meant to be more, but that's where it stops. It's like something I found in an old journal. Communicate.
I love it.
This, that, and the other. So that was a fun one. I enjoyed writing that one, but and shining it up. So just a little bit of a poem from a few years ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Creepy, spooky.
Yay.
Yeah.
And from chat, we have snap, 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 snap. So,
Oh, thank you.
I can't really snap, but I will pretend like I'm snapping.
I had a band director in high school that it was taboo to snap if you were not him. So, not doing it as well as I. He had this like really, really like mutated snap that was like very loud, and it's how he got our attention. And it was like, anyway, I probably was not one of his favorite students. I'll tell you that right now. I don't know why. It's me. Hey, I don't know.
What's not to love?
He had problems. Anyway,
Yeah.
he did.
Well,
Thank
to
you
get the
for snapping.
poetry show moving, and I don't want to
Yes.
forget because this is the day that I would forget. Don't let me forget. We actually
No.
have a recording from Pete, one of our viewers, and we have a sponsor video that I need to
Ooh,
play at the end of
cool.
this show. So don't let me
Nice.
forget that as well. I know, right? And it's a horror movie that's coming out, a indie
Ooh,
horror movie. So kind of like our
yeah.
whole vibe of don't be limited, just do things. These guys created a whole horror movie and it looks great. So, and I actually want to see if we can do a screening of it at some point
Ooh,
in that
that'd be fun.
virtual setup that I was talking to you about that we're going to be
Yeah.
releasing this weekend, I think. So, but
Oh, I will be
anyways,
there.
yeah, just to make sure I don't forget, because Pete sent this reading in. It is gorgeous. We love Pete's reading anyways, because he's got that deep bass and it's all in like, what is that?
British
British?
accent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
British
English.
accent.
You
Yes,
will not be
very.
sorry, listeners and watchers. It's gonna be good.
Yeah.
Your
Oh yeah,
pleasure to
and
hear.
he's going to say this anyways, but I want to make sure everybody knows this is read in Glastonbury at the tomb of where King Arthur was buried. With, I cannot remember the chick's name now.
Guinevere.
He'll tell you. Thank you. I was like, I was wanting to say
Yeah.
Maid Marian, and I'm like, I am totally
Oh,
thinking of
that's
the wrong
Robin Hood.
story here.
The first thing
Yeah.
I did when I homeschooled my nervous child when he was going into 5th grade was we did medieval stuff. And so we did King Arthur and we did Robin Hood.
Oh,
It was so
that's
much
awesome. I know.
fun.
So that I thought that was so cool. And he actually sent us two, and one is in a different place. But and I'm going to share
Uh-huh.
that on social media because they're the
Cool.
same poetry. But yeah, both are beautiful readings. So
Nice.
I'm going to play Pete real quick, and yeah, we can just drink in the culture, and think about
Let's
the
do it.
spirit of King Arthur and Guinevere, and
That's right.
possibly Maid Marian. I could have possibly been channeling a little fictional Maid Marian there.
I'm not going to limit her. She can show up if she
She
wants to. Yeah.
could have been Guinevere's gamer tag, if
Yeah.
she was a gamer.
That's right. Okay, I'm
So,
ready. I got my coffee.
yeah, I completely uncultured that whole introduction. So, as I do.
It was beautiful.
So, but this
He's
is
going to add some
Pete.
class to this joint. Yeah. Okay.
I know. He's a beautiful reader.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, I'm Pete. I'm actually in Glastonbury, in the Glastonbury Abbey, which is apparently the site of the burial of Arthur and Guinevere, of all things. And this is a chapel behind me. So, I'd like to start off with burning thoughts. A cosy chair of reflection, worn arms, fading colour, mind a cluttered library of whispering voices. Crystal meth angels, authors of insanity, scribes of secrets inside a wardrobe. They are sprung, spilling shelves, lighting pages. A burning has begun. Cue. This was a challenge from a former band member. He gave me a riff, 30-second riff, and from this came this. It's called Preacher. Comes the train, a whistling phantom, as a porch swing sways reflection. He prayed with the flock, giving the gospel, a submissive to pleasure with a child's betrayal. Evil possessed was paid in kind, taking the virgin to soil its mind. A child's perspective forever preserved, released and numb as time is served. Now voices come, filling his head as a party of souls who won't play dead. A desert on fire, his soul is pained, his hand guided by ghosts he stained. Goes the train, a whispering farewell, as a dying breeze calls an empty shell. Q. And last one. This is my little sort of homage to Jim Morrison. It's called Last of a Kind. Aspect of a jaded soul becomes tempestuous waves. A warm night turns misty with whisperings of memories. Retreating voices reveal a stage, unveiling a twinkling audience. A moonlit spotlight awaits his journey's end of existence. He has come to claim last rites from what was named in vain. Heavenly bodies of silent judgment man failed to comprehend or tame. Disappeared to the vanishing point, a broken horse ridden hard, kicking up the bones of the dead, buried by questions unanswered. This rider of faith stands alone, vestiges of a ravaged life adorned, consumed by all he condemned, once fueled a hope lost by those he mourned. Squared to the light, he demands, stabbing a bony finger into the night, a possessed man barking at the moon, this fool of mankind, such a sorry sight. A mind succumbs to silence. Finally his voices relent. With just stars and the moon, there is nothing left to repent. Slowly day awakens, and waves remove a stage. Without eyes to appreciate, there's no body to feel the new age. Thank you very much. And as I say, this is Pete from Glastonbury. Thank you.
Classy
Pete.
up the joint, Pete. I don't know if you're watching, but thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Pete,
That
that's
was
so
beautiful.
cool that you were at Glastonbury at Arthur and Guinevere's tomb and you read with such presence. That was a joy. We loved it. We're glad you participated. Keep them coming because we'll be doing this.
That's one thing that we should get into, and we're actually like so running out of time. We have whacked so long, but I am loving every minute.
Me too.
One thing I want to make sure that we talk about is we've been trying a bunch of different things because it started out on Poetry Live, and we're still doing Poetry Live.
Yeah, that'll be the third Sunday.
Yeah, third Sunday. And then this kind of happened, the Cake and Hyperbull thing, out of one of our mad moments live on Poetry Instagram that we were like, oh, we should totally do a poetry show called Cake and Hyperbull.
That was such a great moment. That was, I had just been reading from Head Cleaner by Blix of Argyle, and I don't know why he opens me up to just all these possibilities of words, but you had said that you had never seen the word hyperbole, you had never heard the word hyperbole pronounced. You had only seen it in print, and it was hyperbole in your mind. And I'm like, bud, hyperbole. Now you know, everyone.
Yes.
The origin of our name. Cake. I write a lot of poetry about cake. I bake a lot of cake sometimes. And so that was like our merging of souls right there.
Live on Instagram.
That's right.
But that's and we've just it's been a good year. A good year for poetry.
Really has been. It's been lighting a fire under me, and so that's great.
Yeah, me too.
Great. Love it.
Yeah, I was gonna say something. I can't remember what it was now. So
sorry. I got you.
No, that's me. I've had.
Me too.
Like I said, I woke up late, so I kind of rushed to get in here, and then I had my 3 cups of coffee live on Cake and Hyperbull. So now I'm starting to go. I gotta go.
Yep, I know. My kid will say, "How many cups of coffee have you had, Mom?" Like,
no
what's
kidding.
it to you? What's it to you? Hurry up! Come on, hippity hop.
I get told you don't need another cup of coffee. I'm like, what? What do you mean by that? What are you trying to say?
Exactly. Yes, been there. So.
I want to read, if I may, this poem
please.
by Chelsea Williams, who is watching us at this moment.
Hello, Chelsea.
And she submitted a poem. Oh, that's where I was going. Okay. Hold on just a second, Chelsea, because I did actually have something to say. Because we have kind of gone all over the place with this. Like, it's evolving live before your very eyes every month. And so we were trying to do a open mic event with Cake and Hyperbull, kind of like combine the two things that we've been doing. And we've decided instead to use videos like Pete sent us.
Oh,
and
cool.
you can send them to us. And the reason why is because it's hard to manage all the tech going on and then make sure everybody's tech is working and all of that kind of stuff, and read poetry and enjoy a nice chat. So we're doing videos because then it's like, then also you can control what you're sending us and put it in a cool place if you want, like Glastonbury,
Yes.
And then we're
and
happy
time zones don't matter. Yeah.
Yeah,
If we
time
were
zones
doing
don't
it,
matter. Nobody has to stay
Zoom
up
setup
late.
before. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
And
I
it was
love
hard.
the video. It's such an interesting. Yeah. So that's where I was going with that. It's like, yes, send us videos.
Good point.
And
yes.
Yeah, my email, Amy, contacting her on however you want to be contacted.
Instagram is basically where I am. Yeah. And we can work it out. If you message me on Instagram, if it's better to email it, I'll tell you where to send that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can always find me through my website or Instagram, because I have actually started checking my messages, because I get messages from Dearly Beloved and you and other people like Pete, and I actually check them now. So I am a grown-up Instagrammer. I check my messages now.
We're evolving the people.
Yeah, yes, we can social media. But now I will read Chelsea's poem. Now that I got the laundry out of the way.
Yes.
And this is Chelsea Williams. She's a good friend of mine from here in Independence. So this is another local reader. And we've known each other for quite a while. We worked at Amazon together. I probably am divulging too much information. So we'll go back and edit that out now. But this is Crimson Nation.
Okay.
Crimson red blood spilled into emerald green blades of grass, spread over slick black pavement, splattered across a stark white canvas of picket fence, like a Jackson Pollock murder scene. Crimson red blood, the blood of our brothers, the blood of our sisters, watered down with the tears of our mothers. Crimson red blood, smeared across red, white, and blue, the colors of a nation, the colors of hatred, the colors of injustice. Crimson red blood, steaming with the heat of the sun, a summer of hurt, in a country torn in two. Crimson red blood, smoked out with cans of toxic gas. Gas we wouldn't turn on our enemies, now turned on our own. Brothers, sisters, mothers.
Timely and well done. But sorry it had to be done. But thank you for capturing it, Chelsea. And poetry
thank you, Chelsea. That was by Chelsea Williams. And I kind of feel like for a lot of us, I mean, especially for me, so I really can't say a lot of us, but for me, I've been revisiting the last year. I kind of went through like a shock, and maybe this is the emotional stages of a pandemic that we all now know, but shock and then utter inaction, and then lots of action as I processed it and was like trying to kind of catch up, and then kind of like, hey, I think we might be okay. I think we're a little bit okay. And now it's kind of looking pretty crappy again. And so I find myself going back now, some of the old emotional angers and upsets and things that I had last year at this time, kind of revisiting them, which I'm like, really, can we like move past? But we will move past. We're just gotta go eat some cake in a graveyard. I'm just gonna go get some cake and go eat it.
Yeah, if you want to socially distance, do that. And Chelsea, you're in town. If you want to join us, we can just park our cars and go to like 3 corners of the graveyard and just eat cake and know that we're doing it.
We should do that. See, and this is exactly how these weird ideas happen, Amy.
Yeah.
Because you say that, and I'm like, yes, we should totally do it. Eat cake and read poetry, socially distance in a graveyard.
Mm-hmm. That is something we can do. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Thank you, Chelsea, for sharing. I'm gonna have to meet you in some way at some time when things are able to do that, or we can socially distance cake in the graveyard, which Angela's wonderful way of handling life and its bumps, you know. So love it.
And it involves cake, so it can't be.
Thank you, Lord. Yes, it's true. Amen. Oh yeah.
How about you? Do you have something to read? Because we have not done a lot of poetry, and Chelsea says yes. She's actually the blackest sheep in the comments.
Oh,
But yes,
okay.
Chelsea says yes. She would love to have. I'm ad-libbing some of this, but she would
Cool.
love to have Cake in a Graveyard with us for socially distanced cake and poetry.
Oh, wouldn't that be that stuff?
Yeah,
Because we could.
and we'd have to leave Leroy Smith a little piece of cake.
We
as
could.
a-
We could.
Yeah,
Oh,
I was gonna say offering, but
Yeah.
a memento of respect.
All right. I will read one more, I think. I can't decide which one. It's going to be about Klaus Vormann, Anyway, I am collecting some dreams and old dreams that I've written down and making them into poetry. This is one I read at one of our open mics at the library when we were still doing that. It's just a triolet. I call it the Lost Triolet of That Dream because it was called Triolet of That Dream. And I spent like a whole day on Poetry Week almost trying to find it because I knew what kind of notebook it was in and I'd drawn a picture to go with it. And I know that I looked through this notebook, this sketchbook, and pages stuck together and I just didn't see it. So it just took me forever. And then I found it. So the Lost Triolet of That Dream. I grabbed his foot as he crawled by from driver's seat to the space and back. My eyes stuck closed, and that is why I grabbed his foot as he crawled by and held it, bare and smooth and dry. Then, dream-wise, let my grip go slack. I grabbed his foot as he crawled by from the driver's seat to the space and back. And I reveal it. It was Klaus Vormann in that dream. People young, 1967 Klaus, of whom I did 100. Everybody. Hashtag 100 portraits of Klaus Vormann. And you'll know in 2019 to 2020, early 2020, that was a project that I engaged in. And so anyway, he touches my heart. The end. And I love a triolet. Yeah. Triolets are a form that kind of like, it's like a little jolt of electricity when I read them for some reason because of the rhymes again. Rhymes really grab me.
That's that. From that book, I have discovered your superpower of how you are so educated about poetry. And I'm going to share it. It's the Poet's Glossary.
Oh, and I quote that
book. There we go.
Edward Hirsch, A Poet's Glossary. We were at Costco last week. In the middle of poetry camp, I said, let's, you were like, want to go to Costco? I was like, yes, I do, because I need to bring my head out of the water. And we did. You told me
we uplifted Costco.
We did. You told me the best horrifying ghost stories, and I read poetry from my dream collecting that I'm doing, and we talked about A Poet's Glossary by Edward Hirsch. And I told you how when I used to come here to visit in the Texas times, my dad would just hand me like a wad of money because I had been in my car for 8 hours or whatever, and I was like, I'm going to buy A Poet's Glossary. I had just seen it in Barnes & Noble in Texas. I'd seen it at Barnes & Noble in Independence, which is no longer, which barf right here, right now. But anyway, it's a Bob's Discount Furniture because you know what? It's like a 5-minute walk or a 10-minute walk from my house. And so it's a furniture store now, everybody. That's okay. Anyway, so I bought it and it was like, I looked at it. It was $35 or $30. It was not that much. And now it's physically hard to get. But you can get the ebook and it was on Kindle Unlimited, wasn't it?
Yeah, I actually got it on Kindle Unlimited, which is awesome because my book budget is getting pretty lean because I've been buying way too many books.
Story of my life. Yes. So what have you found in A Poet's Glossary? Anything lately cool?
No, I haven't really had that much chance to dig into it. I kind of dipped into it a few times. Yeah. Enough to go oh, wow, this is amazing. I love this. And then it was shuffling off to,
yes,
do some of the other tons of reading that I have to do right now.
It's that kind of book. It's a reference book. And you can just read, just dip in. And I started a journal called Poetry Camp so I could write down some of the things that I was working on. And I've got, oh gosh, I'm going to tell you one thing I found in the Poet's Glossary because there's a bunch of entries, but hallucinism. Okay, is that how I'm saying? Hallucinism, all right? Hallucinism is a school of poetry. I love this so much. Founded by Brazilian poet Mario de Andrade, 1893 to 1945. To last the duration of one book of modern poems, Hallucinated City of 1922. The preface stated, hallucinism is launched. Okay. Book ended with, so the poetic school of hallucinism is finished. And proclaiming, I sing in my own way. Hello, that is the story of my life. Thank you, oh my gosh, Brazilian poet Mario de Andrade, because hallucinism, which I read about in a poet's glossary. So that's a
That is
dang
awesome.
worthwhile book. Oh, good. I'm glad that you got it, at least on Kindle
Well,
Unlimited.
and I'm kind of scared because I was like going to say this, and I was like, no, I always come up with these crazy ideas, but it's you. I was
Yes.
looking, and it's if you go into the table of contents, it's listed A to Z, and I haven't had a chance but to like just click into a few of them.
Right.
But my overwhelming desire is to write a poem from each one and just go on. And then I was like, oh, Amy has this book. What
I
if
do.
you and I both did that? Every Cake and Hyperbull, we talk about like what we've been looking at from
Ooh.
this book and then share an example.
I love
Our
it. I'm making
version
a
of it. Okay. See, and that's why we work so good together, because I go, I have a crazy idea, and then I forget about it, and Amy makes notes. So
I
this
write
is
it
the
down
lesson.
and then I do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And then she comes to me 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later and goes, okay, so we were doing a poem on such and such. Did you get yours done? And I go,
Did you write your cake
almost
poem?
finished.
Did you write your golden shovel? Yeah, exactly. But that's you though. You can do that. You can be like, I'm gonna bang out this poetry in like, a 3, 2, 1, done. Okay, and it's like marvelously poetic. So
I still owe Tragic Eyebrows. I still owe a Tragic Eyebrows poem. I've not forgotten. It's on my list.
For those who don't follow, when we had National Poetry Month in April, one of our poets from Russia, well, it's Rina Inay. They just released a book of poetry a couple of months ago called Songs of Despair Behind the Closed Doors, which you can find on Gumco. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, at Rina Inay on Instagram and follow their link. They wrote a poem. It was called Poets of the Past, and it mentioned Tragic Eyebrows. And Angela and I both, unbeknownst to each other, just glommed onto that phrase, and we're like, isn't that the best phrase? Next week, and I was like, next week I'm writing a Tragic Eyebrows poem. And I wrote like 5 and 2 songs, and because I was obsessed. Sometimes I get really obsessed. Angela is really busy, and she helps a lot of people out with their creative stuff. And so you are exempt from any guilt for your Tragic Eyebrows slacking, because I overdid it, but also you're helping a lot of people with their creative journeys, which is to me huge. Just huge.
Oh, well, thank you. And we just shared Rina Inay's link in chat.
Good.
So you can go find that.
So, I became obsessed. I interviewed Rina a month or so ago on the June 1st, I believe, was the release of their book, and I interviewed them, and I was obsessed with some of those poems. Their poems are very immersive and create worlds and dream worlds, and so you know what, get in there, kids. It's, if you like that sort
was
of
such
thing.
a good interview too. It was such a good interview.
It's a fun time.
I'm so glad I caught that one.
Yeah, that was fun stuff. Okay, I'm finishing my notes. Choosing something from the Poets Glossary. Write a poem. Share on Cake Hyperbull.
Well, while you're writing that, you want me? We've never had a sponsor before on this show. And what we're doing is we're doing a trade. So we're doing like an advertising trade. I like it. Open to sponsors, I guess. Like we could always do that. I mean, we're live right now. We're deciding. No, are we going to do this? But yes, I have this. And I didn't know how to download directly from YouTube. So I am going to play this directly on YouTube. And I experimented with this right before, when in between me getting up late and running over here to get on. So hopefully this will work fine. If not, experimentation and art.
That's right.
So, and unfortunately, we're going to have to see like a little tiny bit of a video, because I was trying to play past the video and it was so loud I couldn't hear poetry or anything else. And I was worried it would go over the mic. So we're going to see a tiny bit of video. Ignore that little advertisement, because that is not the sponsor. It's the movie Tapehead by 3B Video. So And actually, I will play it real quick because it's almost over. Wow, that's obnoxious. Okay.
I
All
can't
right.
hear it.
Okay, good. Now I'm going to go back and share my screen.
Awesome.
Share screen. And now we get to watch me tech with no practice. Okay.
Like a boss.
I know. Look at this. It's happening. It's happening. Share screen. This is the one. And yes, share it. And we're going to full screen it because we can do that. Look at this.
Cool. Ooh.
And hopefully I selected sound. Actually, I don't think it did. So let's redo that because there's no
and
point.
Hyperbull, cake and Hyperbull poetry is on the way. I'll just do the theme song. Cake and Hyperbull, cake and Hyperbull, the poetry captain is whistling. Yay.
There we go.
All right, we're there.
And we'll move that over.
Beautiful.
All right, look at this. This looks pro. Okay, so this is from 3B, whoever I said before, because now it's all big and I can't read it. But yes, I'm going to hit play. There we go. Yeah. I love this, by the way. I saw this earlier.
Video barn, I love it.
Well, I'm sure you've noticed that VHS is out and DVD is in. And I'm sure you're smart enough to realize that without VHS, Jacob doesn't have a job.
Yeah, he's too stupid to do anything but rewind tapes.
Jacob
Yeah, special ed.
Look at him, playing with toys like a little kid.
You two are going to be nice to him.
Let's just scare him.
I got a better idea.
Be kind, rewind, asshole. He's not moving, man.
Yeah, we gotta dump him. Tell Grundy he ran away or something.
Here comes the scary.
Remember, you can't tell anybody about this.
Hey man, I with you. I didn't see anything. Don't worry about it. We're gonna come up with something. You get them all hooked.
What if no one wants to show up here because all that urban legend
Tape
stuff?
head.
What if I told you you could...
Oh, and what if you don't?
That was cool. Oh yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that is local filmmakers right here in Independence. Pretty sure, but I don't know if they're all local. But yes, and I don't think that was filmed here, but that's local and that's independent. Whoops, sorry.
Like
go away,
film.
Guy. With your so tired of that commercial.
I couldn't hear it.
What if you could go back like 50 generations? So,
I love it. That was tape head. And I love the throwback to because there was like when I worked in a video department at IV, the grocery store, we had a tape rewinder that was if people hadn't rewound their tapes, shove it in there and it just does. And that was like something you had to do to have a guy who like that's his whole job. And then horror ensues.
I know.
They're like, hey, be kind, rewind, and they just dump a bunch of tapes on, and it kills them. That's wonderful. I'm not gonna sweat that. That could happen. You know?
I know. I just shared the link to that trailer in our chat. But yeah, I love that there was even the sound of remember those? Like that's a peculiar sound. So
in poetry right now. So anyway, that
was weird. That made you muted out for just a second, but I got you back.
Good. Yeah, we're fine. I just declined. Right. Sorry, husband.
Oh,
doing my arty farty biz over here.
Yes, and we have wags long. I think my husband a couple times has kind of been like, how are you? Yes, you guys wrapping it up. So. But
well,
I say, maybe another poem.
Do you have one?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, I do. I was actually meaning you, but yes, I also have a poem.
Okay, I will think of what I will do next if I do one next. And you go ahead, and I am listening. Okay. I'm gonna see if I've got one.
Because you're always doing a lot of like romance and boys and everything.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try another thing that I've never done, and I will share the photo. This is from one of the Nina Darkangela Ladies of Horror prompts that I'm always gushing on about because these ekphrasticks are so fun. And I think I have sold just about every single thing that I have written from these. So, and they're really good because it takes me out of my, my rut, of what I'm writing about. It makes you think of something like mermaid, the mermaid one. Yeah, I don't even like water. Why would I write about a mermaid? But, I did the mermaid one. So I'm going to read Lovers Never Leave Her. And I'm going to try to share that photo. Whoops. And I have a notice up here, of course, covering all my stuff. So we'll just say remove. Okay, this just got removed from Twitch, I guess, because they're having connectivity issues. So
sorry, Twitch.
If you're watching on Twitch, I am so sorry. You should be on someplace else.
They'll be running to YouTube and Facebook going, oh, I got to figure out what's next. Yeah, exactly. That's what I like to imagine. Okay, continue.
All right. I'm just going to show it because actually I'm going to mess this up. I'm just going to show, this is the background. And I will make us disappear for a minute so we can show what the prompt was. Every month she sends out a photo. This was the photo that prompted this one. So, and I felt much more clever about sharing that earlier, but now I'm just going to read it because
it looks great. All right.
Yeah. All right. And this is because you have so much romance and passion. So this is my version of romance and passion.
All right.
Her lovers never leave her. And that's actually the title. Lovers never leave her. Her lovers never leave her. She treasures them all, keeping them close, holding them dear. There are no arguments over chores. Their gaze never strays to wander to other lovers. They remain steadfast and true, devoted to her and transfixed by her words. After attitude adjustments, she has found the perfect solution for peace is a solution of 50% sodium hydroxide at 300 degrees and a prick of potassium chloride, strong enough to dissolve weak flesh, but weak enough for keepsakes. There is no jealousy, no infighting in the ranks, no barbed comments at all. A harem of bones. Her lovers never leave her.
Ooh, she solved it.
Desolved it.
Wow, dissolved it. Yes, exactly. Oh my gosh. Girl. I love those acrostics. I want to jump in and do it. I always forget, but yours are always such a pleasure to hear. It's just, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Absolutely. She's always on, like, I can hook you guys up if you ever want to join in. And every month, it's not an obligation. Nobody ever comes and hunts you down.
Yeah.
But if you feel inspired by that, and it really has been awesome to knock me out of, my ruts, which is why in that virtual component that I'm going to be sharing a video of this weekend, we have an ekphrastic museum. So you can three-dimensionally go in, explore this museum, find a work of art, a free domain work of art. We have not plagiarized anybody. Free domain work of art, and you can write a poem about it or a flash fiction. And then there's a little mailbox you can drop it off in right there. And then the idea is that I will grab these and I'll be able to read them each week.
Cool.
In some form.
Yeah. So where do we find this? Because that's the thing I don't know yet.
Yeah, it'll be a link that I'll share really soon, but it's going to be in Second Life. So if you want to get a head start, go into Second Life. You have to download it because it's not a game, but it's basically a game. That kind of. But there's no goals or anything. It's a virtual world. So if you hear all the talk about metaverses right now, and Facebook is building a metaverse and how is exciting, and cutting edge that is, this has been around for about 10 years. So
nice.
And they have their own economy in there. It's lindens, and you can cash your lindens out for real cash. And back in 2011 or 12, I used to make clothes in there, and I sold them, and that's how I've made my camper payments while I was in Australia.
Wow. Awesome.
So yeah, it's just secondlife.com. If you download the viewer, then I can share a link when we have it like open, and you'll be able to come down. The place that we've built is called Writer Island or Writer University,
I
which
love it.
I have to give all credit to Kara Starr, which is my daughter. When I say we built something, I mean she built something, and I stood there and went, "Oh, you know what we should do?" So,
You're the ideas person, the visionary.
yeah.
I love it.
So, I'll be sharing a video of that this weekend at some point, probably on
Cool.
A live event or something, just showing that off, walking through it so people can see what it is, because I've kind of heard a lot of questions about what are you saying? Like, is it writing for like Warcraft, World of Warcraft for writers is one question. It is not. It
Well
is an entire world, and you can have anything in the world. And the portion that we have built in the world is Writer University, which is really for
Love it.
artists. So we have a stage to perform on and the coffee shop to hang out in, and But I'll just show it rather than talk about it. And when I show it at some point this weekend, I will pop a link in there. So if you have an account, you can just jump in there. And we have loaner avatars that people can jump on if they just want to see it. Then I realized you actually still do have to have the account, because it's, the doorway to get into it. Kind of like we have our studio links.
Yeah. That's going to be so cool.
That was my 2 cents. And anyways, going back to Ekphrasticks, I'm super excited about the Ekphrastic Museum. So that's where that all started.
That is so cool. I got to make a note of that, Ekphrastic Museum, because
Gina just came on and she said she's late, and we had your ghost up here. We were talking about it, and I read Remembrance Cake. But if you ever do miss these, they're archived. So
yes, right. So YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, I'm assuming they all archive them?
Yeah, it goes on Twitch. It did end early on Twitch, I think, but sometimes you get the notice and it doesn't really. It's still went. You just got the notice, and it should be on Space and Time YouTube and on my Facebook profile. And then I'm trying to put them in my blog, like as a, it's like a. But I am struggling with that. So there's a permissions thing that has to happen that I have to dip into.
Right on.
That'll happen. This weekend is my organizing weekend to figure all this stuff out.
Awesome. I love it. Wow, it sounds like there's a lot of cool stuff happening. And so I'm really looking forward to that Writer University place on Second Life.
I was just talking to Gina about it last night on chat, because now that it's a reality, I've kind of like really gotten excited. So
yeah,
there's a mascot, and there's a whole confessionary poem probably coming from me about a mascot and being a raccoon.
I love it. If I send you every raccoon thing I see, you'll have to forgive me, because I was like, I love that.
I love raccoons. I mean, I probably shouldn't say this in public, but years ago we lived in an apartment building that had raccoon, like an army of raccoons that would hit the dumpsters every night. And we worked nights. So on my nights off, I spent a lot of time out in the dumpsters communing with the raccoons, who I called my people, and taking photos with them. And also sometimes they get caught in those dumpsters, like the little ones, and they can't quite hop out. So I would go find branches and boards and stuff and put them in there so they could be free, because you can't have any raccoons getting hurt around here. So yes, I am a Trash Panda fan. That is probably my spirit animal, but I do love them. So
did I tell you about the night that my kid came running into our room and was like, there's someone on the roof. There's a roof under his window. And we were like, oh shit. I mean, I was like ready to like kick ass. And so we go in there, and it was a raccoon. He just like, he woke up in like liminal sleep freak out and saw it as a person. And
that's funny. Well, because they stand up on their hind legs. They've got little hands,
Yeah, they do. They have people stuff going on somewhat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's too funny. Saying I'd be like opening my window, come in.
You would. My children. Oh, you've got to see the Bob's Burgers episode about the slumber party, because there's a raccoon letting raccoons into the house moment, and there's a raccoon thread in there where the mom like names raccoons in the alley, little King Trash Mouth and stuff like that.
I remember. I love that episode, and I think when we were watching that's what my husband Ryan was saying, is like, That would be you, wouldn't it? It's like,
That's you.
of course.
Let's put a hat on him. Yeah, exactly.
But we've already determined that Linda is probably, if I was a cartoon, I would a lot be Linda.
You'd be Linda. Yeah. I would be too, because I sing everything. My kid's like, oh my gosh, that's you, Mom. Yeah. Oh man.
Oh, awesome. What do you want to do? One more, and then we'll
I'll
probably
do one more. Speaking of Little King Trash Mouth, I have a phrase I like to think I invented, and it's dream trash. The thing where like you're halfway to a dream and you get all these words, and sometimes I write them down and call them dream trash.
Oh,
This
I
one's
love
called
it.
actual dream trash. It's really not about, it's not a word fall. It's actual dream trash. You'll see. Once there was a man named Sprat who was not as high functioning as his church pastor liked to think, and the public library where I worked, fresh from college, had not considered all possibilities when allowing unlimited checkouts once the high technology kicked in. Of course, most folks would not put that policy to the test by way of 300 music CDs at one checkout. When CDs are at last returned to a library after much prompting, each CD, all 300, must be scrupulously checked to ensure matching of correct CD to its case. For weeks afterwards, my dreams were ruled by running that electronic pen wand over barcodes on the backs of 5 score compact disc cases. 3 of us split the task. When I think of my friend, a Russian poet, whose dreams result in masterpieces of punk fairy tale poetica, I feel strongly in my bones that the Sprat incident was a damn waste of precious dream energy. So we had like some old tech and some, I feel cruel saying he was not that high, but he wasn't. He was a lower functioning individual who was given a library card and entrusted. It's like, I think if I were his pastor who would bring him to the library and he wanted to get 300 CDs, I might be like, you know what, let's start with 10. And then we can always come back tomorrow if you really honestly listen to all of them in that short space of time. But anyway, just the indignation of dreaming about work, a repetitive task, when you couldn't be dreaming about so many other things. So that was my dream. That was actual dream trash right there. Just like, what a rip.
Like it.
Oh,
I'm actually writing down dream trash now because I freaking love that. Where's my pen? Way over here.
No, I was totally, of course, inspired by John Berryman, the Dream Songs, which I read about in Nick Cave, the Sick Bag song. And so I was reading a lot of this, and this guy, of course, was brilliant in his dream songs. But for some reason, I don't know why the phrase dream trash came, because it's not always trash. It's just not refined. It's just a lot of.
It's raw material.
It's
and is trash a lot of times.
Sometimes it is, and sometimes it comes out like more poetic than I am in my waking life, and so it's like, oh, I'm gonna write down anyway. So I kind of am fascinated with that. That's one of my fascinations. One of them of art.
That's awesome. So many of them. Which is good.
Oh, it is. It's a deep, deep well. Love it.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm about done. I have to go pee. I'll just say that live because I had 6. Yeah, I had 3 cups of coffee sitting here, and I woke up and kind of came out here because I slept in late. So
right.
But you know what? That is life.
That is. I'm glad you said it, because I know we were going to do a little tutorial after this, and I'm like, oh geez, I hope she doesn't care if I have to, because we have one bathroom in this 1978 house. It's upstairs, like 7 + 7 steps, you guys. So the hardship.
We have a bathroom upstairs that has been dysfunctional since we moved in, and so we're kind of like waiting to have the $500 to call a plumber to do it. That we have the money, but now we keep not wanting anybody in the house. And so then we were just going, we'll go ahead and get a plumber in now to fix that. It's those old, it's a 125-year-old house, and the pipes are that cast iron. So it's not like you can just fix it, So
get in there and just
in here.
Yeah.
So we're gonna get this expert in here, but so now we were just like, okay, we're gonna call somebody up and fix that, because how cool would it be to have an upstairs bathroom and not have to like run all the way downstairs, the narrow steps, and all the dogs have to come with me every time. And it is my terror at one point that one of the dogs will hit me in the back of the legs and I will go tumbling down the stairs and I will pee on myself and die and cover my own urine at the bottom of the stairs with dogs licking my face. So
Never fear, you're gonna pee anyway when you die. It's all gonna let go. I learned
I
that
just want
from
to
the
go
movie Young Guns.
first. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They'll never know. They'll just be like, "Oh, the release at death, at the moment of death." I have one cat, and I have to carry him downstairs when I go to feed him in the morning because he will get right in front of your feet. He just doesn't know what he's doing. He's like, "I want to make sure mom sees me." It's like, man, I'm gonna fall down the 7 stairs and die and hit my head on that wall.
Oh my goodness. We have an
Yeah.
ankle tripper. His name is Toby, and he is a
Oh,
very obese wiener dog who is getting much less obese because of all the walking. But yes, he
Good.
loves to, especially in the road. Swear to God, he's trying to kill me. But he crosses right in front of me. So it's like I'm gonna trip on him, but I'm looking for traffic and
Yeah, you have to be looking 10 directions. It's like
he's a murder wiener. He's the murder wiener.
I love it. That will be the next collection of your poetry, Murder Wiener.
Oh, all right,
fun.
well,
Yeah.
you know what, Amy? I just want to go on record, though I already have many times, of saying you're awesome. And all of this, Cake and Hyperbull, and all the poetry, and all the poets we've met, and all the poets we've connected with, like Pete, I think, and I'm hopefully I'm not misquoting or anything, but I believe that is some of the first poetry performances and readings he's done in public, which is amazing because he's so great at it.
Yes.
And all of that came about because one librarian in a library during COVID of last year at this time, when everything was closing down, went, you know what? I should do poetry live. And then, who should I ask? Angela. She's
my
crazy.
One real life poet friend, exactly, that like I actually knew who did. I know people do poetry, but I didn't know any of them, and so I thank you for coming along on that wild ride. And thank God that there was I saw 2 chicks doing ghost story, just talking about their ghost story book collections and stuff like that on Alive, and I was like, I don't know, I saw it like a couple of months before, and it wasn't right away that I thought it, but then when I thought I would like to do poetry live in some way, I was like, yeah, it doesn't have to not be. And so I thank those ladies, Notebook of Ghosts, and somebody else I can't never remember, something about Halloween, but they were doing that, and that's what gave me the notion that you could even do that. So it all feeds in, and it's been great. And yes, I thank you for all that you do for all of us who are kind of a little more, I don't know about Pete. Pete may be like me, where I've done this for years, writing poetry and gathering ideas, and did nothing with it because I didn't know what to do with it. It was just kind of like, I have this, but I don't understand why, because, I would just do nothing with it. So it's great that we can do with it and bring other people into doing something with it. And,
and I've gotten so much out of it because I had gotten into a rut of professionalism or something, like you just do these things, you produce these things, and our artistic works are products. It's important to think of them as products, to market them and stuff, but also you get in a rut of just, oh yes, this is a thing, and I should do a poem on that, and that's a thing, and I should do a poem on, like checkbox, check. And so this has kind of released that whole, oh, I remember why I was doing this originally, because it was fun, and whatever. So yeah, it's been awesome on all accounts. So
it is awesome. It's fun. It's human. You're allowed to do it, even if you're not professional. It's kind of like my motto or whatever. So
and with technology now, you can pretty much do anything you want. The big artistic guardians have fallen, and now art is open to anybody.
And for my sake, that is excellent news, because I'm not a good sharer if it's a prohibitive environment. And to me, prohibitive was it was exclusive, and it was like frail times when I would not have been able to accept or not deal well with just the natural rejection process that has to take place because of all of the influx of submissions and things like that. And so to kind of be able to find a different route is, I think it's just more suitable for some people, you know? And
Yeah.
so I'm glad
Yeah.
it's out there.
Yeah,
But
me
I'm glad we
too.
got like folks out there doing it who come along with us on our, you know, our
Yeah.
other style of journey and stuff like that. So yeah. Fun times.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Well,
thank
everyone,
you.
thank you for
Yeah.
coming.
I guess we'll be
And
back again next first Saturday
yeah,
of the month for another Cake and Hyperbull. And before then, we will be on the third Sunday on your Instagram doing a poetry live.
yep. At Hypness and Outrage, it'll be 2:00 Central Time, USA, in the afternoon on the third Sunday of August. And we will just do kind of more of reading. And if, you know, people want to send us poems to read, we would, that's what we do on that forum, is we read them, giving you
Yeah.
credit. On this forum, you can send your videos in, which I think is such a cool feature. Like you
I
saw Pete
know.
reading at
Yeah.
Glastonbury.
So cool.
Yeah.
And I did
cool.
just share your Instagram on all
Oh.
our chat channels. So go follow Amy at Hypness and Outrage.
Fun time.
And yeah,
Fun.
third Sunday of the month. Then you can watch us do it all again, except for, you know, without videos. We'll just read
Right.
them.
Right.
And our own stuff.
There'll be all kinds of stuff, you know, just
Yeah.
whatever we are
Who
talking
kno-
about, reading about.
Honestly,
You never know.
who knows? Who knows?
Who
You
knows?
just don't know what might happen.
It's always fun. It's always fun. And you can
Yeah.
chat on it like you do on this, where you can put in your comments and we can address them and stuff like that. So it's a good time. And this is a great
Yeah.
time. And I love what we're doing. Thank you, Angela.
You know what? Before we go, and I know I'm prolonging this, and this is our anniversary show, so we can be a little
Yeah.
prolonged.
We
I just
can
want to
be.
share my favorite memory, bizarre, zany memory of this last year doing these events. And I don't know if
Yes.
you have one, but do you remember
like
when we decided to go to the square? Because all of it had to be socially distanced. So we had
Yes.
tried the graveyard, we tried the square. We eventually kind of settled to doing it at home because of power issues and internet
Yeah.
connectivity issues and
Wi-Fi, yeah.
data issues and
Exactly.
stuff like that. But before that, we had gone to the historic square in Independence.
Yeah.
And as we're going, we had a prayer group walk in the square. And so every few minutes they would walk by you. And of course, I'm like, oh my God, they're breathing on me. You know,
Oh, yeah.
COVID, you know, socially distancing ladies. And we were both sitting kind of next to the sidewalk trying to do these shows or that show.
Like
And
about
I
half a
got
block from each other, yeah.
yeah. And so they'd come by me and you'd see the shadow cross me and then
Yeah.
the prayer and they were singing hymns and stuff. And then they'd go by and you'd see the shadow cross over you. And
Yeah.
I got panhandled during all that. So
You
live on
did.
Instagram, I'm like, oh, what? Oh, no, I actually don't have anybody right now. I'm
I
a
know.
poet, I think I said.
Kidding, no, we're reading poetry. But the same panhandler came by me, but didn't say anything. I think she could tell that we were together. And
Also a poet.
I didn't look that
Nobody
well dressed.
here.
Yeah. That was such a cool, yeah, you guys go to at Hypness and Outrage, go back to last September and
That
just,
was so funny.
watch that, because it was like, and I wasn't even worried about like the social distancing because I don't think my mom ever marched around a courthouse and prayed and sang, but she was very much a praying person. And so I was like having tingly memories of my mom and being like, oh, and they're praying for the world because of COVID and stuff. And so it was really kind of great. We had people that came out onto the sidewalk across the street from me down a ways who were singing. They came out of a music store and just were singing like barbershop quartet or something, and that was a really active day. And we were surprised because Angela and I we were both working at the library. There were a lot of restrictions. I don't even think the public had come back to the library yet. It was all drive-through and stuff like that. And so to us, COVID was this like, situation still, which it was, but we didn't realize it was going to be so active on the square, and all of that stuff happened, and it was so
Remember the motorcyclists?
fun.
Like the Harley Davidson guys pulled up, and I can't remember what they did now. I think just honked and waved or something. That was crazy.
I think we were thinking about, I'm going to sit out in front of the discount. What the heck is that thing called? The discount casket outlet or something. I'm going to sit outside that. But there were a lot of motorcycles that were just running. And we were like, well, that's not going to work. We don't know how long they're going to, or no, I think there was construction happening. There were some guys like working on really
across
loud.
the street.
Right. And so we were like, well, okay, how about the courthouse? That's iconic. So we did that. And that was really
So
fun. I
funny.
forgot about that one. That was great. That
Yeah.
was great. I think I
Yeah, that's
loved
why.
our.
Oh, I was gonna say that's why I want to do like a little reel of some of these crazy things
Yes.
that have happened over the past year.
For
But
real. For real.
on my
I love
list,
the cemetery one. The cemetery day was so inspiring to me because I wrote the Sophia Vale song. I wrote I drew I was involved in a Halloween drawing challenge where you drew something or I was doing, I don't know what I was doing, but it was I did a picture that I was inspired by a Thomas Little Beddoes poem that ended ever singing die oh die, and I put it into an illustration. I was so inspired by that reading, and then the fact you had like technical glitches because of old Madame Vale, we assume, because she's supposed to be the gray lady in our cemetery and stuff like that. I've never seen her. I've been there a lot. I don't think I see ghosts, and probably that's all right, except for that one time in the dining room. Oh my Lord, twice in the dining room here. That could have been one of those brain things. I don't know, but I kind of like to a little bit say ghost. That's not going to ever bother me again. Thank you, ghost. but that kind of thing. So I really enjoyed that October one and that September one too, of course. But it is fun to share our favorite moments. And the moment the Cake and Hyperbull was named, I was on my deck. I think that was November or something like that.
yeah.
But pretty cool.
Yeah, I have to go
good
find
stuff.
that. Yeah, put these together in like a little reel of memory
that'd be
stuff
so
for us over
good.
this first year.
I love it. I love
And
it.
by I mean Ryan, my husband, who does, I take a lot of credit for other people's work.
Well, you do a lot. You do a lot for people, and Ryan is out there doing it. Anyone who can do that much technology, I admire and appreciate. So yeah.
So
Well, my
that'll be
earbuds
next
have.
week, hopefully.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
exactly.
and I've got to pee, so.
I do too. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. If you hung with us this long, 2 hours, we've done that before. That happens. So bless. Thank you for sharing poems you did. Thank you for listening if you did.
Yeah.
And you can always revisit if you just got to relive this magical time, which I probably will. I like to do that. All right, folks.
Thank you so much. See you guys next. First Saturday and otherwise third Sunday on Amy's Hitness and Outrage for Poetry Live.
Woohoo! We'll see you there.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Where's my hand? Okay. There we go.
Okay. Here's my cup. Salute.